Everett Scott.
Jared Thomas.
How in the world do we know each other? How in our world end up in Charleston?
When realities collide.
Well said.
We have a lot of reality to discuss today.
Uh-huh.
With the reunion
Some hot tea around Charleston.
that's, I guess, a week or two away, and my name is being it's all over. It's weird to see so much of your name in your face.
Hot in the press. It has got to be weird.
It is surreal.
It is.
But I think what I'd like to talk to you, there's a lot I want to talk to you about today. But let's take it from the top, because I don't think that, I mean, it's been a lot of years since you were on TV, and you've done a lot of cool stuff since.
Yeah.
You kind of, I would say, were a pioneer in the space.
That's very kind of you. I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, it was one of the OGs of Summer House, first couple seasons.
You and Kyle Cook.
Yep. Kyle and I were cast as the original two dudes.
You and Kyle Cook were the original two Summer House men.
Yeah. They did a big casting call. Kyle went to it. It was actually the showrunners of The Rock of Love, that Bret Michaels show back in the day on VH1, which is, I mean, dude, have you watched that show? Is all time. But anyway, these guys are wild, and so they did a big casting call in New York. Kyle went to it and was basically like told them some stories about the share house, the summer house that I had thrown the year before in Montauk, and the producers were like, "These people sound like absolute lunatics. I would love to meet them."
The producers.
Yeah, the producers. So anyway, yeah, they chose a handful of us, myself, Kyle being a couple of the main guys, and then I wound up getting in a relationship with Lindsay.
Lindsay Hubbard.
Lindsay Hubbard, that's right. Before the show started, we had been longtime friends for a while, and kind of, again, worlds collided, and we started dating. And then the producer was like, "Oh, we need another single dude," because they wanted Kyle and someone to go run amok in the Hamptons. And so that's where we came across Carl, who was selling medical devices to my dentist, actually. And he reached out, and Carl was like, "Dude, we need another guy in the show." And because everyone works in finance in New York, and you can't, a lot of people, as you know, like finance and these types of shows don't necessarily mesh, and it's a decision you have to make. But so Carl joined us, and
was Carl in the original season as well?
He was.
So
he was. He was like he joined us like 2 or 3 weeks before we started filming.
So you and Kyle and Carl were sort of the original three on Summer House, the men.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at that show now. So it's 10 seasons in?
Yeah, I think 9 or 10, something like that. But it's wild. I mean, it's wild to see what that show's become. It's very funny to me that people still recognize me after 1 or 2 seasons from that long ago. It's I always take a I laugh a little bit just because.
It's interesting that everyone Summer House is New York, the Hamptons, but you're in Charleston now.
Yeah,
you've been here for a while, so
yeah.
So you left the Summer House situation, and you came down here, and you've gotten married to Courtney.
Indeed,
have a baby.
Yeah,
your life has really changed a lot since you were partying in the Hamptons with those boys.
Yeah, wow, it's been almost 10 years now. 2016 was when we filmed that. And as you pointed out, I've now lived in Charleston for 5 years. Got married a couple years ago. My beautiful wife, Courtney. We now have this wonderful baby girl, Della, 8 months old now. It'd be 9 months on Monday. So life has dramatically changed. It's just amazing when you enter the variable of time into life, how things change. And anyway, very blessed for the life we have here now. But it's just interesting how we've come to know each other through mutual friends and circles down here in Charleston. And
what's also interesting is that we have a lot of mutual friends in New York.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the guys I grew up with went on to work in finance in New York.
Yep.
Johnny Drama.
Yeah.
Mike Alum. I mean, the list.
JTea.
Sloan, Sloan and all them. And,
oh yeah, of course.
and,
through JTea.
Betty, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how the two spheres of you grew up in the New York suburbs, right?
In Stamford, Greenwich. I went to a school in Greenwich growing up, so kind of like the suburbs of New York, but up the Metro North Railroad.
And I grew up in the Washington D.C. metro area, and so
Virginia,
our two,
right?
Yeah, Virginia, like
Yeah.
near the CIA, near Langham, Great Falls.
Yeah, yeah.
So our childhood friends all kind of migrated to New York, and then we sort of ended up in Charleston, and then we met during COVID, and then we realized that we had all these mutual friends. And so we've been friends since. And then I got the call to do Southern Charm.
Mm-hmm.
So I was sort of the inverse. I was tail end, the back end of you started a show, and I kind of jumped onto a show that was already a franchise and established.
Very different experiences.
Yes.
Very different, which
Very
I'd love
much.
to talk about with you today.
Definitely. I just think it's there's not many men that I know in Charleston who can relate to being on reality TV, but also having a real adult life as a man in Charleston. If that makes sense.
It does.
So,
Well, kind of because it's either reality TV and you go all in, or it's trying to balance a real normal life with a steady job, especially in the corporate space. It's in a family, relationships. Like it's all very difficult to manage all those things in the sphere of reality.
it is, and reality is, and we'll talk about this. Reality is it's a tricky word. The reality of the real world and the reality of a world with production and a network and ratings and how. And I'm not trying to be controversial yet, but it's interesting how the portrayal of you and I, and a lot of my friends and family, I'm sure yours did too, will be like, hey, like this isn't really kind of exactly how you are in real life, even though it's reality TV.
Yeah.
Because there's how we really are in our real life lives and our experiences as men. I don't know how Summer House, I think it's like more of a Big Brother camera system where in the house there's, you walk in and it's cameras on you at all times. Whereas our show
Right.
is on Monday afternoon, you see your call sheet for the week and you kind of get to think about, okay, well on Thursday I film at Miss Patricia's house. And then on Saturday I film at the XYZ location with, Madison and Whitney.
Right.
We could kind of plan a little bit about who we're going to be seeing and what we're going to be talking about. Whereas you guys on Summer House, it's more drive to the Hamptons, walk in the house, and let it rip. It's less
Right.
less like, and that's a very important detail because that's even more improv than our reality.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Is that fair?
It's a great point. I haven't actually thought about that too much, but when you frame it like that, it's exactly right. Summer House is just, you walk in and there's 2 to 3 cameras around you at all points in time. There's no real escape. It's just you're always on, and it just kind of forces you to be yourself. And yeah, it does have that Big Brother vibe because it's like there's you can't go and like think about what you want to say and talk about with somebody else because it's on camera and they're going to kind of capture it. Now, granted, you can like during the weeks and when we're back in New York, and that's kind of what they tried to do with the show is capture like the New York lifestyle of like big city, going to the beach on the weekends. But when you're in the house on the weekends, it's a little bananas, especially early on when no one's ever filmed these shows before. You don't know how to act, and our natural predilection back at this point in time was definitely to alcohol. So we just completely send it to Pluto.
Yeah, that's being on camera with no escape with a bunch of alcohol is certainly a recipe for chaos.
Oh, 100%.
It's also
explosive.
It looks fun. I mean, it looks like Summer House is just a fun. It looks like it's a lot of like just a wild. It was a wild time. It kind of looks like it still is. I don't know how Kyle and Carl are still going.
I mean, well, Carl quit alcohol.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
But and God bless him. He deserves so much credit for.
Yeah.
He's had a tough journey. Like there's been so many different versions of Carl
throughout
the arc of Summer House, and I'm so proud of him for the steps he's taken in his life to get sober. But Kyle just loves to send it. He's the king. He's the king of the send. I don't know how he still does it. He's got an incredible motor, but it wears on you though. Like it chips away at the soul a bit over time. Like it has to.
I watched all the summer houses just to kind of try to understand it and get to know the character, the cast.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to give Kyle and Amanda just a lot of credit because I can't imagine having my relationship under that microscope. That must be really hard. And I have a lot of I don't know if respect is the right word, but to put yourself out there as a couple like that. I mean, you went through it with Lindsay. I mean, I'm going through it right now with a real girlfriend during my season a girlfriend, but also trying to balance. When you have any kind of like love interest or relationship interest, the Bravo Nation really wants to weigh in and judge and talk, and it's, I guess, very interesting. But what Kyle and Amanda have been able to navigate, and what you had to navigate, and Carl too with Lindsay and
Workus.
Didn't Carl come down? I mean, Carl called off the engagement and then came down here, and you guys are still friends.
Yeah, close friends. I mean, Carl sought refuge down in the Charleston area after that whole thing went down. He has a close friend that kind of gave him a haven up in Daniel Island, and then he spent some time, with me as well, just trying to process everything. Sharing our common experiences of a breakup with Lindsay Hubbard, which is not for the faint of heart. God bless her. But Kyle and Amanda have been through a lot. Like to your point, it's the pressure of having the microscopic focus on every corner of your relationship when you have no ability to even like edit things or say things how you want to say them. It's moments are captured and snared and broadcast for people to weigh in on.
It's painful.
And it's special. It's especially painful as it's happening to the public, and then you have to relive those difficult points in time that you think you've put behind you, and now they're thrust back, and you have to address it again. Like that's ultimately what, like, just stay on Kyle and Amanda for a minute. They've been through a lot. I'm really proud of them and all as well. They've done a lot of work to really build the foundation, and they seem to be doing a lot better these days. I haven't seen Kyle too much recently because he's a busy motherfucker with Loverboy and everything, and Amanda's launched a brand now as well. So they're doing great, but it's to have I did go through it. Season 1, like I went through an early stage relationship where the foundation was still rocky. Like we were friends for a long time, and all of a sudden in months 4 through 6 of our relationship is under the microscope of a camera. And it's there's so much attention that goes to that, from a filming perspective, because it's a story. It's a built-in storyline. To your point, people take a vested interest in relationships because they can, share their own experiences of relationships within the context of that, and therefore they feel the need to weigh in. But it's difficult because there, as you go through that and on the post-mortem of a show, you have all these people weighing in on a relationship when they don't understand all the dynamics that happen. They just see the 30 seconds that happened here and there.
I watched you in season 1 and 2 and watched, like I said, Kyle and Amanda and Carl and Lindsay and now Craig and Paige, and now I'm thrust into it too, in a really interesting way, where I had a girlfriend all during filming for season 10 of Southern Charm.
Yeah.
And a really close friend in the cast in Vanita.
Right.
And I don't know how to say this other than the human experience of, a new relationship with a good friend who I'm giving it a go with, my girlfriend Allie at the time. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then a really good friend who I didn't even really understand was going through a breakup herself with her boyfriend Manny. Mm-hmm. And then all during filming, her relationship ended, and I was just starting off on mine. Me and Vanita have always had chemistry and an attraction, but we've always been friends because the timing never really worked out.
Right.
And so in one of the episodes, I forget which one, I have a girlfriend and I say, listen, like, I'm in her house, she's making me dinner. And I say, listen, I got to just acknowledge the fact that, like, and to me, I'm trying to sort of say politely, like, there's an attraction here, but I have a girlfriend. I probably need to exit this situation because as a man, you kind of know, like, this is getting gray, and and I need to be respectful to, but I'm also here to film a show,
Right.
and it's getting blurry, and so the strings of the reality TV and the strings of the real life,
Right.
and you're going, wait a second, this is, and then there's the how it gets concocted. And then it can really kind of eat away at your soul because you don't really know what to do because you still have half a season left to film. And now you've got a real complicated human experience with a friend.
Right.
Who now is who has, there's something there. And you have a girlfriend that for whatever reason, respectfully, just didn't sign up to be part of the reality show. And so you sort of just are caught in this no man's land. And then the show airs, and then half the audience says you're shady as shit.
Right.
And half the audience says that she's shady as shit. And then next thing you know, your friendship is shattering. And then your real girlfriend, that relationship is shattering. And then I sound like I'm playing the victim card, but I'm just trying to give, and maybe you can relate because what do you do? Because then it's like you're trying to get everyone around you to calm down and just remember that it's just a show, but it's also like there's real feelings involved, and it's not a show anymore.
Yeah.
And then you start to feel like the walls are closing in, and it gets really tricky. But I sound like I'm complaining, but it's just, what an interesting human experience that we both lived through doing reality TV and having relationships and relationship issues for the world to judge and weigh in on. I mean, not many people can relate to that.
I would say there's very few people that ever walked this planet that have volunteered to have their lives and relationships broadcast for people to choose to. And this is something we choose to do. And that's, it's something that we choose a path. It's no sympathy we seek. But it's just a decision you make, and I think that's a big part of like why you decide to join a show. It's and create a platform yourself, because it is a platform, and it's all about what you want to use that for, to present to the world of who Jarrett Thomas is and what you stand for, or who Everett Weston is. And I find that's the interesting thing that especially relationships take is a person's identity becomes muted based on how the show links you to a relationship. When I was going through my relationship with Lindsay, I was just kind of tagged as, an angry veteran with PTSD. Because I had a couple fights and with Lindsay, like all of a sudden that's my label. And I don't have the opportunity to present my side of the many layers that are to who Everett Scott Weston is.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to navigate because you have a lot of voices that have their own perspectives when, it's your ego and it's your entire identity is being under scrutiny.
It causes an identity crisis.
It does. It absolutely does.
And the whole time I've known you, I've never once gotten angry, PTSD'd, war veteran. I've only gotten genuine, truthful, kind, honest, great dude.
Well, I appreciate that. And
when I watched the show, when I did my homework on your show and watched your scene, I'm going, wait a second. He kind of comes across like he's kind of no offense. I mean, it looks to me like you are that angry PTSD war veteran.
Well, so a couple comments, like, I am, I do consider myself kind of an alpha. Can be aggressive. That is part of my personality. But is anger my driving trait of how I'm defined? No. However, it's often how I react when I feel that I'm under attack.
Right.
Like my natural predilection on the emotional spectrum, my easiest path is anger. And it's something that I've had to work on significantly post-service because I've had anger from many things, as it relates to my time in service. But when you're on a show like that, you have a bunch of individuals whose own egos are fighting to capture the presentation of themselves for the audience. And that inherently creates conflicts on these kinds of reality TV shows
100%.
because people want to be heard and have their voice heard for the American and world audience. And so when you have a relationship, Lindsay and I, for example, when we were dating early on, for the show, every cast member came under attack against us. It was like a gang fight against us because we were getting more airtime. We were all friends. There was nothing actually they were angry about. It was that we were getting attention. And then you start seeing people split off and create their little factions and things. And there's that episode from season 1 where I'm splashing Kyle in the ridiculous splashing scene in the hot tub. Looked like a complete clown, but Kyle was questioning the validity of my relationship with Lindsay, saying I was accusing me of doing it for TV, and I was like, do you really think I would fake a relationship? One of my closest friends, Kyle, I would fake
I remember that
a
scene.
relationship.
I remember that scene.
I would date Lindsay Hubbard to be fake. That's literally clinically insane.
Yeah, it's
So, but that's an example of how people they're under assault. You went through a lot with that show. It was I felt watching that, if I can kind of weigh in on some of the things that I kind of observed from
my season.
Yeah,
My season 10.
Yeah, I mean, first, you mentioned Vanita. So I want to talk about that for perspective. And I'm curious your viewpoint. Watching back now, because she clearly cares a lot about you, or at that point now it's difficult because you watch these things back and there's people's emotions then and people's emotions now, and now they're converging. But she clearly had feelings for you, which obviously you were at a different point. But I was just curious if there's anything, knowing how she felt about you then, any things you would have altered or changed, or
I mean, so let me just answer it like this: the reunion's it's going to air, I think, next week or the following. There's 2 episodes, right? And in the reunion, it comes up. I mean, so what happens is that we wrap filming, and I'm in a relationship during filming.
yeah,
Off camera, but we couldn't get that relationship. I'll just leave it at that. We couldn't get that relationship on camera.
got it.
And so
And it was just because probably her work or something like that.
yeah, it was just not what she signed up for, and
Did you
and
meet
I had
her?
to respect that.
Was she from around Charleston?
Yeah,
I don't know.
she's a lovely girl,
Nice.
And so, anyways, at the end of filming, right about the end, that relationship took a hard pause, a breakup, and I ended up starting to see Vanita. So
this is at the end of the season.
after the season, yeah.
Because the season is kind of hard to track, the timeline of things.
Yeah,
Because
it
the
is.
editors feel like they play with the timelines a little bit. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean the edits, but I can speak just to the truth of the reality
Sure.
of it. So
Sure,
during the season, I'm actually in a relationship, and that relationship could not be documented on camera. I'll leave it at that. So then the cameras leave town, and that relationship just it ended. And Vanita came back down to Charleston from New York, and we started hanging out because we were best friends. And there is chemistry on both sides. So we started seeing each other for about a month or 2. And so yeah, I mean, how many times as a human being, I mean, a lot of people can relate to this, where you're in a relationship, but you meet somebody at work, or you meet somebody in a friend of friend, or some club that you're in, and there's chemistry.
Yeah.
But you made a promise to the person that you're with.
Right. It's called values. It's
Yeah, so
right.
I think that we've all had the attraction or the chemistry's there, or the banter's easy
You're a
and fun.
hot-blooded American.
Yeah,
Like,
you're a human, but you made a promise to another human,
That's
and you don't
right.
want to breach that promise.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting to kind of capture and watch that back, watching that internal struggle in my mind on camera going, wait a second, like this is getting clocked.
Yeah.
And so I navigated as delicately as I can,
Mm-hmm.
and on camera. And then when the cameras leave, that relationship that was the real relationship in real life ended.
Right.
And me and Vanita gave it a go for a couple of months.
Yep.
And then the trailer for season 10 aired. And it was such a weird psychological thing where, I don't know, it was just a breakdown in communication. But it was a Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And the trailer aired on a Monday. And my then ex-girlfriend posted up a story. It was my ex-girlfriend at the time, while I'm now sort of seeing and kind of talking to Vanita, dating, whatever you want to call it. And in the story on her Instagram said, imagine being in a love triangle with JT and Vanita. And I guess Vanita saw that story that my ex posted, and it caused, I think, Vanita to sort of shut down, thinking maybe that there was some veracity to that story, like I was still seeing her.
Huh.
But I wasn't.
Interesting.
I was seeing Vanita. And so
Jesus.
I texted Vanita, and I said, hey, just checking on you. I mean, clearly I saw the Instagram post or story.
Right.
I want to check on you, make sure you're okay. And didn't hear back. A couple days went by, and I said, hey, my mom's in town. Would love to take you out to lunch. My mom and her get along pretty well.
Uh-huh. Yeah, your mom spoke very fondly of her on the show.
Didn't hear back. So I know 2 texts.
Mm.
So I'm getting ghosted over, we've been hanging out every day for the last month or 2. So I get ghosted for 48 hours, and so I said, what do you do? Do you fire a third? Of course. Wait a couple more days. Hey, just checking on you. I know the season's coming up, and the trailer was a lie.
What would Shep do?
What would Shep do? So I know I'm rambling, but then a third shot. I'm firing a third shot, going, hey, just wanted to check on you. Full ghost. So then I'm going, wait a second. Because in the trailer, it was, the producers had made it sort of seem like I'm pining over her.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, it zooms in on me having her make me dinner in the trailer, saying, hey, there's chemistry here, I'm attracted to you. And then I start to kind of think myself, like I'm being ghosted for almost 5 days now.
Right.
I'm going, did I get used for a storyline? Maybe she was only keeping the warmth of this relationship to see if she was going to be the homewrecker, or if I was going to be the bad boyfriend. And now I'm the bad boyfriend in the trailer going, wait, am I getting played here? Did she actually like me? Or was she just waiting to see how the season was going to get cut, to see if she was going to be the homewrecker and needed to protect her own image? And so I'm going, wait a second, I'm so confused. Now I'm getting really confused.
Interesting.
So then the next 24, 40 hours, I fire a 4th text. Hey, just let me know, like, is this done? Like, I don't know. And don't hear back. And I just say, like, fine, got it. And I felt like I got played.
Okay. Interesting.
And then I realized, well, shit. I got so mentally mind fucked during filming, and then after filming, and then the dating. I'm going, what is real anymore? What is real?
It can be an incredibly difficult thing to navigate.
It's like
these multiple realities converging in once when there's a narrative being spewed about the past that you have to navigate the emotional fallout of in the current.
Now I'm so confused because I thought everything was hunky dory and just we're firing on all cylinders and we were good. Now a week's gone by and I'm getting full ghosted because of the trailer that dropped and my ex-girlfriend who posted the love triangle thing. So I'm sure that Vanita's really confused.
But was that the trigger point though do you think, for her?
I can't see into her mind or her thoughts, but it had to have been really confusing for her going, wait, was he playing me? Was he
Right.
still with his girlfriend?
Right.
And I'm going, wait, is she playing me because of the trailer saying that?
Well, so do you now at this point in time, reflecting back, like, do you think she was, or do you think that her feelings for you were real?
This is dead ass truth. I have no idea what's the truth anymore. And so I have her blocked.
Oh, wow.
Because now, since the season ended, all communication is broken down, and now we're on US Weekly, and we're not me. There's all kinds of like.
I saw some stuff.
There's some stuff floating around now. I'm going, oh my gosh, this is now just being used for. But then she's also going on Watch What Happens Live, and she's like, the relationship. He was a kind lover, and he was considerate and compassionate, and like and it's like, I'm watching the news, going, she likes me, yes. She likes me not. She likes me, yes. She likes me not. What's real? What's not real? So, rewind. So I go on, after I realize that I'm getting ghosted for a week, all right? And I'm going, like, I'm pretty upset. I'm going, maybe this is all just a bunch of bullshit. I reach out to my ex-girlfriend, and she had some artwork and some other things that I needed to come pick up. Some, as you exchange things, I was just like, my life is just what's real anymore. So we do the exchange, and I see her, and I'm like, something in my mind is like, man, things were like before the show, like things were solid, things were safe, and we got into a huge blowout fight, as you always do when you're handing off the exchange. We all know how that goes.
Sure.
It's never like, and have a great life. It's just it, and then all of a sudden those emotions trigger, and I'm going, wait, like she's a great, and I'm going, I should give this a try again. And so I think I was seeking safety. And I throw up.
Well, that's a natural human reaction.
Yeah. And so I do something probably pretty silly, but just felt right at the moment. And I take there's a photo of us, and I post it, and I say, like, it's complicated. And in a way, I was just sort of kind of trying to validate the fact that, like, this was my girlfriend and things were normal before this whole weird show. Psychology happens. And also, like, I want to give this a shot because I just feel like I got played by Vanita.
But that's also an impossible task to truly sway public opinion because
I just
people.
think I was lashing out, partially lashing out,
yeah,
and partially so confused, and then Vanita, of course, gets a call from Rodrigo, and it's like, hey, and she's going, oh, he played me. And so I think that what really ultimately happened was just a total breakdown in communication,
right.
Massive confusion on both sides, and a lot of pain because of the convergent and divergent realities of the show and also the real feelings and the storyline feelings. And I gotta be honest, it's really, really hard. And now I'm on US Weekly, and I got people and fans and friends and family going, what's going on? I'm just like, I just want it to all go away and just peace and quiet.
I totally empathize.
Does that make sense?
I mean, dude, yes, absolutely. I mean, you're for all the time I've known you, you've been a very, giving, gracious, kind gentleman. And it's, the volume of press that this situation is getting, I mean, it must be suffocating. I'm super empathetic towards that. I mean, I what you just said kind of harkens back to, a little bit, because what I just heard, it sounds
I sound
like
crazy, don't I?
No, I mean, but
so much I just spewed.
No, you don't sound crazy at all. First of all, it's difficult for, to process for someone's consciousness, all these perspectives in alternate reality periods that are being given to you. And then the overlay of emotions with that. It's just difficult to process. It's hard. It's fucking hard.
It's hard.
And because there is so much noise that got thrust into the relationship between you and Vanita, communication broke down, and it created a gap between you. If it sounds like a chasm to some degree, where now there's so much opinion that you can't really get back to like the basics of communication because you're also kind of like answering to all these things like you were kind of feeling compelled to do. Does that kind of sound right to a degree? Yeah, and I think. I just because it happened, this happened with me in reality. It happened with Carl Lindsay in reality. It's where like reality TV kind of takes this period of time, and it allows a gap to be driven against it by, you know, when Carl and Lindsay took a break originally, just to kind of like use that as an example. You know, I don't know if it was necessarily would have been done, but all of a sudden, because everybody knew about it, it became done because it was impossible to tackle that.
It's impossible to undo the pain.
And
so much
what you're dealing
tissue.
with, it's like very similar because like, you know, I don't know if Vinny as well. I met her a couple of times. She's a wonderful like person, you know, and like I said, you've been extremely kind throughout several years.
We're having a real talk here.
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard to process this stuff. It's hard to. That's really what it comes down to. It's hard to process.
Well, do you? What I've never, and you experienced this before me, but what I'm very quickly learning is, you know, in a real, and you touched on this, in a real in relationships in normal world land.
Yeah.
There's no podcast dragging. There's no interview on national TV or tabloid dragging. And I don't want to say like lies and spewing mistruth, but like when you hear a narrative that is not the narrative that you recall, for lack of better, from the person that you thought you were having feelings, that you had this relationship with, it is catastrophic to the trust. And, you know, for example, I'm not just trying to like throw her under the bus here, but like little things, like when I read something, like imagine having a girlfriend and letting me pay for your clothes. Like, you're calling in to question my integrity. That's really something that then goes, it makes me go, and that's a little thing, but as a man, you're going, and maybe this does not sound chauvinistic, but it's like, wait, I paid you back. So like, are you going to say anything that comes to mind to throw shade about me as my integrity goes? Because now I'm losing total trust in you. And then a couple days later, it's like on Watch What Happens Live, it's like with Andy Cohen, it's like, well, how was JT as a lover? Oh, he was actually sweet and kind and considerate and giving. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, the whiplash.
Yeah.
And I'm going, I want to trust her. I want to think she didn't ghost me afterwards. I want to think at the reunion when she grabs her phone and she reads aloud for the world to hear my 4 or 5 text messages of me genuinely caring about getting together with her to see how her mental health is after. I want to believe that the person that I started to care about and saw a path with, but then I see the public microphone game and the dragging, and I'm going, it's making me feel like I can't trust. I'm getting deep here, but this is how I'm feeling.
I mean, it's totally.
Is that fair?
Totally fair. I mean, I can totally relate because, you know, to bring it back to my relationship back, you know, early on with Lindsay, like after season 1, like the show kind of pushed us to like have a conclusion, you know, as they do, they tell you to put a bow on things. And so they've kind of pushed us to move in together. And it was not the right time for a 9 months into a relationship for people to move in together. And we eventually like had to take some time apart. You know, but and we broke up. But I guess where I'm getting with this is that, you know, there was when narratives begin to come out with a TV show, you have to fight to like save your identity. I guess I'm losing my train of thought here a little bit. You know,
well,
let's move on from that.
I understand what you're saying, and I'm going to just give you an example about what I did, which is the breadcrumb model.
Yeah.
So like I posted a video with my mom and sister looking at my new Airbnb, the one that was filmed during the season. And then and then a day in the life, and then it's me, my mom, my sister, my new girlfriend I'm introducing to my mom, and then Vanita happens to walk into the Shanu community table.
Right.
And so I didn't want to like be like, you knew I had a girlfriend. And it's like, no, it's like just a breadcrumb, like that there was knowledge that I presented that so that people will go, because when you say things like, imagine knowing you have a girlfriend and letting me pay for your stuff like I'm duping someone. I'm like, wait a second. And then at that dinner, I've been really honest with you. I'm just gonna use the exact truth, which was after dinner, it's like, hey, it was her to me.
Right.
Is that your friend or your girlfriend? And I replied to her verbatim. I said, that's my Manny.
Right.
I don't know how much more clear, her boyfriend Manny.
Right.
I don't know how much more clear I could be. Now, I don't put that in the video
Right.
that I posted, but I'm telling you right now, because the reunion's coming out back to blurred reality,
Right.
and I don't even know what the show's going to show.
That's right, because you find out.
I find out
couple
what the
days,
I find
right.
out what the I find out what the reality of what the real truth was on Reality Truth. In 2 weeks, I find out my fate.
Right.
As does my ex-girlfriend Allie.
Right.
As does Vanita. So we're sitting here today, and I don't know what my reality is going to look like in the tabloids in 2 weeks. But man to man, right now, at that dinner, where I breadcrumbed it on social media, I told her, this is my Manny, when she asked. So when we say things like, I don't really know how you let a woman pay for your clothes when you have a girlfriend,
Mm-hmm.
you can see how the trust gets broken.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because
I'm really hammering it right now, but this is like, I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. You know, she's kind of presented a certain side to the situation, and you know, it seemed like you were clear about where you were based on the, you know, what I watched in the show. It seemed like, you know, you demonstrated that you're kind of off limits. I mean, and you were still, you know, welcoming the relationship with her because you view her as such a close friend.
Yeah.
And you value her. And I've had relationships like that throughout my life as well. Like, you know, it's great to have good girlfriends, but it's, you know, it's sometimes tough to manage the feelings when there are there. You know, it's a tough thing to have to manage, especially with someone that seems as awesome as Vanita. I haven't.
She's an awesome girl.
I haven't got to meet her as
woman.
much, but
and so is Allie. And it's like, oftentimes I wonder, I said, what if I didn't do the show? Would I be fine with Allie?
Mm-hmm.
But now the show has sort of caused that trust level for a lot of those reasons with her to be shattered.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think, well, what if I had never met Allie and I had only met Vanita? And there was no public mic for either of us and no public dragging. I think that in a real world setting, they're both lovely women. And I could probably, because of the blurred reality of reality and the real reality, everything gets all murky and weird.
Totally.
And you can relate. One of the only people I know that can. It's cathartic.
It is.
Is this therapy right now?
I mean, it is for me, talking about some of this stuff.
I mean, God.
It brings back, honestly, like it brings back some emotions because, like, I tucked a lot of this away for a long time. But it's tough to have to maneuver relationships that you value that are under assault, and it's difficult to control. Like you kind of have ceded control to the reality world. But it's that going into it.
I didn't intend to just absolutely just go that deep. I said no. I said let's not do breadcrumbs. Let's do slices of bread, and that was literally unpacking like the manufacturing of the bread.
We can go. Let's go a different route.
No, it's okay. I think we can. Let's pivot to away from Vanita therapy and. God, that was a lot. Fuck.
So your first season was very hard to fucking gain a footing, as evidence like Rod's not on there anymore. This season you were under assault as a result.
So I did not mean to pour pour all that emotion about the Vanita situation, but we can pivot. But I'll just close with this, and we'll talk about the other part of the show, which is
Sure.
She is an amazing woman, and I don't know what the future holds. Right now, the trust is shattered. It's broken, and we're not speaking. We're blocked.
Yeah.
But time has a funny way of healing things, and I'm optimistic that we can at least get the friendship back. And
I hope so.
I said I was going to close. How the reunion airs and what they choose to go with, like it'll be locked in time forever. And so that's going to cause more. And also there's 2 more weeks until it's over. So there's going to be more headlines swirling and more potential.
Yeah, but time kills all headlines because then the people that care about those headlines move on to the next headline. So just remember that as you go through this over the next, few weeks, because it's going to be a lot to deal with mentally.
And also to pivot away from the Vanita situation and the other part of this was she was my only sort of lifeline, her and Leva, because after season 9, my first season, when I come in pretty hard and hot against Austin, who I've had historical beef with for years. And then,
I didn't know it predated the show.
Yeah, it predated.
Okay.
And he and I just have always collided and not really seen eye to eye.
Sure.
And so coming hard and hot, heavy. But it's hard when you come in new when there's established bromance.
Yeah, well, I mean, Austin, Craig, Shep, those are like reality titans. It's like a merry-go-round of like who's not going to be friends with one and not in a season. And you came in to kind of disrupt that storyline. Like, I know them all like individually. Like, I've liked them as people. But when you come, but they have a they have a clan, and they've been doing this for a long time. It's, kind of like they built the show. And you coming in to like mix things up, like, which is what like your role was, like they needed another male to like change up the storyline of like that thing on repeat. And you did that. You came in guns blazing, and you did, but you did it in a way that you're very, you have a very strong moral code, and that's one of the things I've learned about you, throughout the several years we've been friends, and you kind of hold people to a certain threshold of accountability in that kind of value system, and that's one of the things you do. Like, there's a lot of bullshit that's spewed in these TV shows. There's a lot of mistruths and things that are spun into the reality universe and then take on a life of their own. And you try to kind of keep people accountable. And you did that, kind of on behalf of Taylor to a certain degree that season. And, and I think the next season, as a result, because of how you clash with people as you working to maintain a footing of yourself, the identity of Jarrett Thomas in Southern Charm, you got attacked in this season. Like it seemed like everyone was against you, and it didn't seem fair at all to me as an observer.
Let's talk about the arc and also reality TV. You mentioned earlier splashing in the hot tub about a fake relationship. Kyle towards you.
I was so
right
mad.
So here's the thing about reality TV versus the real world. And I'm not trying to sound disingenuous or, like I'm acting or a bullshit artist. But like, let's be honest. Like, sometimes in order to get the cameras to come around and document what you're doing, you can't just be,
you can't be vanilla. You gotta disrupt.
Hello, how are you doing today, Everett?
Right. No one gives a shit about that.
I don't know what your plans are, but there's a Sunday mass around 11, and we could maybe possibly get some tea and crumpets afterwards.
Right.
Because if you do that, then you're going to be seen, but you're not ever going to make an edit. You're not going to be on the show.
Correct.
And so you have to walk a fine line of stirring the pot a little bit, maybe not too much, but enough to where you can move the tectonic plates of camera and edit to go, this actually is interesting. Mm-hmm. And I got to be honest, I think that that I came in like a bull in a china shop, and I probably didn't need to move the tectonic plates quite so heavily in my first season. So in my second season, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to be I'm going to just be a lot more chill.
Yeah.
But by then, if I'm being honest with you, I think that the earthquake had already tipped the Richter scale, and now the troops, the established OGs, were going, oh, we've seen how he is. Let's pile it on.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, I'm going, all right, I don't need to. I've watched myself on TV once, and that's a loud guy. That's not really who I truly am, right?
Right.
I can move it back quite a bit, but then it was the damage had been done. I had instilled enough pain, probably in Austin, and then they kind of came in, and then the producers had removed Rod,
right?
And so I kind of walk in. It reminds me, and I walk in, and I'm just by myself, and now it's like payback time.
And that's so hard in reality TV. Like one of the things I noticed in season 1, like after Lindsay and I were dating, was like people paired up quickly because be able to navigate a show as just one, you're always under attack. You're always, people are always coming at you, and you have to stay relevant in the process. And so like, you know, you had to come in it alone. Like you said, like Rod, you know, didn't join this year. You know, and so you're coming into a very caustic situation with Austin, and then Craig's obviously taking his side, and then, you know, because of how things were conveyed internally in kind of the inner clan, especially with Miss Patricia
and Madison,
which was, you know, I know you guys have been friends for a long time. I was unfortunate to see that unfold because I was like, JT would never say something like that or do something like that to her, toward her, which was
weird.
bizarre.
That got weird just for other reasons.
That was weird.
It was a really weird situation that had nothing to do with Austin. It just was an organic issue that her and I had because of what happened on that FaceTime call.
Yeah.
And then I'm walking into filming for season 10 going, all right, I already know he wants payback, right? I know Craig's going to have his back.
Yeah.
I know. Then I got Madison, and then I know Miss Patricia. And I'm going, so I walk into the first scene going, I am, it's about to be a 1-on-10.
Yeah. You were under heavy assault.
Heavy assault. But I also genuinely was like, I can weave and I can duck and dodge, and I can try to navigate this to a point where I can get back to the friendship with at least Madison, possibly actually Austin.
And you tried with Craig.
And I tried, but I think it was kind of a situation where, if I'm being blunt, I think it was season 10 was my it was payback time for JT, and I'm a big boy.
The Empire Strikes Back.
I'm a big boy, but I'm going to just share some more because I think this is going to be my one and done on podcasting, and I trust you, and obviously we have edit control here. So I'm just going to tell the truth. And I think that, you know, lies hurt people, but I think that targeted lies really hurt people. And I think that when Craig says that I called Miss Patricia a bitch, I think it was back to the Summer House versus Southern Charm style of preparation of scene. Mm-hmm. I think that was, I have no proof of this, but I've heard rumblings that was a plan to make sure that people would refuse to film with me, and to kill me off the show right out of the gates. And so for large periods of time during the season, I had no scenes because everyone believed that I called the matriarch of the show a bitch.
Right.
To kill me off the show.
Right. And there was no actual documented evidence of that ever happening as it came out.
But how are you gonna? It's like then
But you fought that narrative the whole time. And you had no opportunity to engage with anybody else in anything meaningful because you were constantly under attack.
Correct. But my question, I'll never probably know the answer to this unless some brave cast member will stand up and be like, yeah, this was an actual plan of collusion. I think it was to kill me off the show, but I give Leva and Vanita a lot of credit because if they don't film with me, I'm done. And
that's
the plan
true.
Works.
Yeah.
But they film with me.
Yeah.
And so my friend Vanita and my friend Leva were my only oxygen for most of the season.
Right.
And then I go to the Bahamas, get my verbal assaulting, pack my bags and go. But I think it comes back to season 9, my first season, delivering that kind of maybe over the top heat to Austin, knowing season 10 was going to be so. So your reality television, where you're in the Hamptons with Kyle and Carl and Lindsay and trying to get the show off the ground. I'm coming into a situation where I'm just trying to survive.
You're fighting the establishment.
I'm trying to survive when nobody really wants to keep me around.
Right. It's tough.
You know?
That's tough.
God, I sound like I'm complaining and I'm a victim, but
Whereas we're just trying to get the next season.
yeah, I'm trying to just get a scene, you know? And then it's like, I've got our girlfriend in real off camera that can't film, and then I'm trying to have a friendship with the one person that will film.
But it's also, it's so interesting, you know, I think for people to just acknowledge that, like, in order to exist on a show, you have to disrupt. And then in the process of disrupting, you know, the counteraction to that is it's things that you always have to fight. And then, you know, in your situation, it just, you know, you came against the establishment, and then it all kind of blew up and one thing spiraled out, and all of a sudden everything's on fire.
But you know what? I'll always look back, and I don't know if I'll do a third season or not. I'm sure after this interview, I'll probably be, the network will blacklist me forever.
Yeah. Yeah, for talking
about how I really went
castaways like Everett.
No, I just think that, like, there's this unsort of spoken rule where it's like, don't talk about what happens behind the curtain. Is that how yours was?
Yeah. I mean, to a degree, for sure. I mean, I remember, like, you know, Lindsay and I, when we were trying to work it out in between season 1 and season 2, like, we had to be fake about that fact. Like, we couldn't say that we were actually together when we were trying to be together. And it's like, it's just like, it's reality TV just makes you do such weird things, where you have to convey something that's alternate than how you're actually feeling. And then everyone else's feelings just flood the reality of this current situation. It's just strange.
Do you regret doing it?
Not in the least bit.
I don't either.
I mean, you know, I did it for a reason. You know, I don't really live life with regrets, because I think every experience in life gives you the opportunity to learn something about yourself and about the world. You know, I chose to do the TV show recognizing that I could completely torpedo my corporate aspirations, but chose to do so anyway because, you know, I wanted to bring attention to a piece of my identity related to my time in service and in the military, and then most especially the nonprofit that I had founded, Operation Heal Our Heroes, which, you know, I lost one of my closest friends to suicide because of his battles with mental health. And, you know, I wanted to bring visibility to that mission, because that mission, you know, Frankie's death, my buddy, like, I carry his memory in my backpack and try to prevent the next Frankie, which was my purpose for joining the TV show. When I did it, I created a, you know, season 1, you might remember that 5K race that was out in Montauk, because I knew that, you know, they may not give light to the different layers of who Everett Scott Weston is, but if I could create something visually appealing enough, they couldn't cut that whole thing out, and people would remember something about this mission. And it worked, because I was able to, from that episode 8, I think it was in season 1, where we did the race, and, you know, we've got John Behan, a Marine veteran who lost both his legs in the Vietnam War, a congressman in New York for many years. He was a starter for our first race. And it was just like we wove together such an amazing message that resonated with the country. And people reached out to me after that episode aired, you know, talking about their friends, their family members. Veterans reached out to me, and it just created a kind of a connective tissue overnight where I was able to help some people as a result. And for that reason, because I was able to help veterans because of my involvement in a TV show where I was able to prevent another Frankie Kim from happening, 100% would do it all again and go back in the lion's den. But it was, there's tough parts in the process, but it's the labels that you get dealt with that you have to kind of manage that process of. But I had the opportunity, even almost 10 years later now, to be recognized still. People don't necessarily remember my name. Sometimes I get called like Emmett. But they remember me as the veterans guy. That's good enough for me.
It gave you the ability to have a platform that's really hard to get in life.
Yeah.
Through visibility.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
To do good.
That's exactly right.
That's why I did it too, to try to get a platform.
Yeah, what was your, because we talked about this when you were thinking about doing the show, because I shared with you, it's important to have a purpose when you make your mission. So tell me about your vision for yourself as you were preparing to join reality world.
Is to get back to reality, the real world.
That's post-haste. Going into it though.
I think it was.
You've got the incredible brand of the inns you've built in Charleston.
Yeah,
so that's
certainly
obviously
not going to lie to you. Certainly, the business interest of getting my businesses on television, the Airbnbs here in Charleston, the inns. But on a bigger level, I remember in my casting interviews with NBC and Bravo, one of the questions was, "What are you going to do with this opportunity?" And I said, Vladimir Zelensky, the president of the Ukraine, was an actor. He was a comedian before he was fighting against Vladimir Putin to protect against Western civilization as a proxy state. Or I said, you just don't know what doors are going to open up if you take the altitude that comes from being on television screens across the world. Mm-hmm. And so I think that initially it was, get the businesses on TV. I'm a diabetic. So maybe doing some health, podcasting, some health awareness to help the diabetics who are looking to lean into somebody who's on TV that is in good health, who's lived a long, healthy life with diabetes. I've got a lot of financial background. I think that a health and wealth kind of podcast or vlog.
Health and wealth.
Cool.
That's
health and wealth.
That's my mottos for the year.
You can't build wealth without you can't have a happy house without good health and whatever the term is. But I don't know what the future holds. All I know is that, like you, I want to use this platform and the altitude that comes from being on a television screen for good. Mm-hmm. So, I think that this is my last hurrah. I don't see a situation where I want to come back and try to make things work or make amends with what did you call them?
The Titans.
The Titans of reality TV based in Charleston.
They're a couple. They certainly are.
I think
they've done this for a long time. They've sacrificed a lot for reality.
And they're tough, and they've built a franchise, and it was nice to be part of it for a couple seasons. And I think that repairing my relationship with Benita, whatever that future holds, I hope it's a positive one.
Yeah.
Same with Allie, what a lovely person as well, and then using this platform that I'm building now through doing stuff like this for the greater good. That's what I want to do from here. I don't know what that means
I love
yet,
it, man.
but I'm going to figure it out.
I love it. The motto of my college alma mater is Pro Humanitate. And I remember when I was applying to Wake Forest, what does that mean to you for the betterment of humanity, really? And I think it's trying to do good and pay it forward because, I think for us, we've worked hard but we've also, good people have helped us along the way. And I think it's important to pay that forward in this life where there's so much negative pressure and so much negative kind of externalities that we have to navigate, in this journey of life. And I think whether it's me trying to create a beacon for veterans to understand that they don't have to be isolated in, the world post-military service, or people that are trying to navigate the challenges of diabetes, which you have done an amazing job of, and you can be a beacon for people like that to help understand how to maintain a healthy lifestyle. You know, I think that's why it's cool that these types of shows, these reality TV things, give us the opportunity to create platforms like that.
So, one of the things, and we had cut a golf podcast, which is, I think we're going to get the footage of that maybe in May or June, that was a great day.
Awesome day.
So, but one of the things that you had said that as I watched the pre-cut on the golf footage was that when you were doing the show, that you felt like they had cut your show. They had cut some of, you knew they were going to do the race that you did in Montauk, but they cut a lot of the stuff about your veteran stories. And I think that the PTSD and your service overseas, and so I'm a diabetic, all right? And so this watch is a Submariner, submarine watch. It's what the Navy SEALs. The Navy SEALs used to use this watch when they were diving down underneath in World War II to attach underwater mines on German U-boats. And so I bought this watch because I wanted to be a Navy SEAL. I wanted to serve my country just like you did. But when I was 15, I got diagnosed with diabetes, and so when you're diabetic, it's a disqualifier. So, as the only person in the reality TV world who's a veteran, I just wanted to give you a chance to. I mean, I'm just gonna. Is it okay if I just ask a couple questions about your service?
Please.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
We talk about the hostile situations with Lindsay Hubbard that you went through, but Lindsay, I mean, she's the kind of, I mean, the drama of reality TV is nothing like war, like war times, like real war.
Yeah, that's for fucking damn sure.
And so what you've seen, I mean, you did Summer House, but my first question would be before the on-camera reality TV Summer House wars that you fought, how many years prior were you actually overseas with the troops, with your men, with weapons in war zone? What was the duration of time before you were like, oh, I'm going to go to Manhattan and then be on reality television in the Hamptons?
Yeah, it's a really interesting, I guess, arc of my life. I appreciate you asking. So as a direct answer, 2008 to 2009, I graduated Wake Forest 2007. I was commissioned as a second lieutenant. I was deployed in Iraq 11 months later with a platoon of soldiers. My job was to do route clearance operations, which is basically go find IEDs either at night or during the day, improvise explosive devices, and blow them up with C4.
So let me just stop you right there, and I hate to interrupt you, but these little detailed, I have detailed questions. So, from 2008 to 2010?
16 months. So it was end of April 2008, and I got back to America on the 4th of July in 2009.
So 18 months you were stationed in
Iraq.
And so on a daily basis or weekly basis, you and the men that you worked with, you would have debrief meetings and you would say, okay, here's the plan. We're going to go out. Here's the route on our Google Maps. And we think that there's XYZ issue. We have tips from the locals and we're going to go clear it because for some reason that's a strategic access point or egress point.
Mm-hmm.
And you risked your life to go clear these mines for 18 months?
Yeah, about 15.
Can you just describe, I guess the psychology is you're sitting in the room with sitting in a room. We're sitting in a room. We're having a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
All right? You're sitting in a room having conversations with guys in the room. And the CO, the guy in charge, the commanding officer is explaining where you're going, the time of the day in which you're going, who's going. And then the next day or so, you get up and then you drive outside the gates of the base.
Outside the wire.
Outside the wire. For a year and a half. And once you leave, you're driving in your military vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
And you're either driving it or you're in the passenger, you're somewhere.
I was always the TC, the truck commander.
So you were driving.
No, I'm the guy in charge of the map called the Blue Force Tracker. A little different version of Google Maps.
Right.
That's kind of right in the shotgun seat. You got your driver, usually specialist or sergeant, gunner, and I'm middle, usually 2 or 4 of typically a 5 vehicle convoy.
You're in a 4 or 5 vehicle convoy, and you're the guy who's essentially has the map saying, here's where we're going. This is the route.
Yeah.
And you don't know where you're looking, a man on the street, a woman or a child. You don't know who the actual enemy is. And you're going down the road, and you're looking for bombs for 18 months of your life. Like, to me, like, when we're talking about all this reality TV stuff, and how hard it is, and like love and the tea and the bullshit. You're the hero, man. Like that is the real deal.
I appreciate that, dude.
I cannot imagine that psychology.
Well, I'd say there's very few people that have walked this planet that have volunteered to go on reality TV and volunteered to go to war. And I think I'm one of the only ones.
Okay. I'm going to ask you, and again, you can say skip. Like, I feel like skip this question. How many people on reality TV have received inbound gunfire or delivered outbound gunfire at a living target?
Not many. Maybe somebody that's been a survivor before or something like that, but certainly no one on the Bravo network that I can think of.
I would assume, not to get super into the weeds of your business or your mind. I know it's the PTSD and the things that I don't want to go there necessarily, but I think that you are...
I do, actually.
Huh?
I do. I want to go there. We can go there, but ask your question first.
Okay, so... As the only person, and I apologize to anybody who is also served and who's a reality TV alum or current, I don't know of any other than you. You've seen IEDs explode. You've seen wounded Americans, your brothers.
Yeah.
You've received fire.
Yeah.
You delivered fire.
Yeah.
For 18 months, you risked your life and delivered and received fire. Live ammo. Came home and hung out with Kyle Cook, who splashed you in a hot tub. I just want to put the context.
So 8 years between...
Oh, okay, there was some time.
8 years from combat in Iraq to nautical combat with Kyle.
Nautical combat with Kyle. I'm not trying to diminish
8 years, actually, it might have been 8 years almost to the day when I got hit by an IED in Iraq.
So you were hit by an IED.
I was hit by 2.
You were hit by 2. Can you just describe what an IED... First of all, an IED stands for?
Improvised explosive device.
Okay. So a bomb?
It's a bomb. So
you were
it's basically...
hit by 2 bombs?
2 different occasions. Well, 3, but the third wasn't... It's nothing. The first one was... There's one big one that probably should have killed me.
When you describe big, how big?
So I'll just give you a quick backdrop of the situation. So I was in charge of the sapper platoon. It was a combat engineer unit. Our job was to facilitate freedom of maneuver for coalition forces on the main supply routes and alternate supply routes.
What city was this in?
So we're in Samara.
Which is Iraq, north,
Which
south?
is in Iraq, multinational division north, Iraq. So it's kind of like south of kind of like Todd. Well, it's
How far
near,
from Baghdad is it? North,
north,
a couple hours of Baghdad.
northwest.
Northwest, how many hours?
It's
of
near
Baghdad?
Spiker. It's near Tikrit, which is Saddam's hometown. It's like an hour away from Tikrit.
So you were an hour away from Saddam Hussein's hometown.
Samarra, it's like the cradle of existence. It's where the Tigris and the Euphrates meet. So this is like old world Mesopotamia.
Where the Tigris and the Euphrates meet, there's a town called
Samarra.
Which is Saddam Hussein's hometown.
Near it. That's
Near
Tikrit.
it. And you were there
Yeah.
dealing with bombs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's badass.
At times, like one of my missions was escorting ship generators over the 40,000-pound ship generators over the only bridge that can support that weight in Iraq to bring that to that city of Samarra, which had been war-torn. And we did it so we could bring back sustainable source of energy and light to the town because it had been destroyed. And we got attacked on that trip, but that's a story.
Well, just while we're doing this, I just like, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
You got attacked by how many soldiers?
Impossible to say.
Like, can I just like just to paint a visual picture, if you don't mind?
So
like, there's machine gun AR-15s coming exploding on the horizon from
no,
everywhere?
not quite that. So we're going down. So in the city of Samarra, it's like a grid. You know, if you think about like a grid, like any town, and we named all the streets after NBA teams. And so this one was called Heat Alley because Miami Heat, and it was off Route Celtics, which connected with Route Jazz, and so like that's how you kind of communicate the routes. And so we're going down Heat Alley, and the reason they called it Heat Alley was because a bunch of people were getting killed on this route because they were throwing Russian-made RKG-3 heat grenades, which basically, it's a grenade they throw at your big vehicle. We're in these massive like MRAPs, which stands for Mine Resistant Assault Protected. And it's basically, it's like napalm that gets captured in a copper slug upon impact. And that penetrates the armor because of that copper slug, and it unleashes a fireball inside the truck, which burns everybody alive. And so that's why we call it Heat Alley. Kind of sick. But everyone has to be on vigilance as we're going down. And we have to go slow during this whole process because if we go fast, our antennas rip down like, you know, the electrical wires in the town, and people can't get radio and TV to us, and then we get more enemies. So it's like, and you have to be like, because it's an urban environment, the sectors of fires are tighter, and in order to move quicker for the potential threats, you need people at all sides of the convoy on ground that can move faster. So I'm on the front left, and basically at one point, like we had we had snipers coming from the rear, and all of a sudden we're hearing like a grenade going off from over here. And we're just like, fuck the TVs, like mount up, roll out. So we blast through the town. I remember calling like Longbow 16, which is like one of the scout weapons team helicopters that was flying over the top, like to come down and lay fire behind us to make sure that, you know.
So you're taking sniper fire from the rear. You're worried about fire napalm grenades penetrating your truck armor, and you have machine gun fire to your front, but you're also trying to make sure you don't disrupt the Wi-Fi and the internet access of the wires above.
Yeah,
it's a lot. It's a lot to think about.
It's completely absurd.
And the fact that you lived,
yeah,
like the fact that your brain has experienced that is like when people say like, oh, PTSD, which is your mission from your platform now. It's like, man.
Yeah, it was, and you know, we made it out. Everyone was fine. We had made it to deliver the generators. We had
you're delivering generators,
goat and rice with like Iraqi generals that night, which was a pretty cool experience. Right in the Tigris and Euphrates, like the cradle of like human existence. So that was cool. It was an experience I'll never forget. But, you know, back to your earlier question about IEDs. So in that same area, there was one time where we were charged with being quick reaction force for another unit that got hit by an IED, and so we went to go basically evaluate secondary threats in the area. And so we're speeding up to where we have to go support, and my truck just gets obliterated by...
So let's talk about obliterating of a truck. So you're driving down the road.
Yeah.
And it's a sunny day.
So usually we're driving like 10 kilometers per hour, super slow, because our job is to like literally find a rock that's been moved on the side of the road where previously that rock wasn't there, and therefore they have dug a hole in the ground, put a 155 artillery round into the dirt, covered it back up, put an electrical wire spooling out a kilometer away that they spark on a battery when you cross it, and it blows up on instant. So like you have to look for every little disturbance in the road, otherwise you could get blown up at any moment.
So you're driving down the road,
So at this point we're driving faster because there's never been any bombs in this kind of line of like latitude.
This is like Celtics Alley, or?
This is not even in that town.
Okay,
this is on a main supply route.
You're just driving down
We're going up to an area further north of Samara where someone got hit.
This is a few years before summer house season 1 starts.
Yeah.
Just to confirm, just to put some contrast in all this.
2008. Yeah. And so like we're going up to, I'll never forget, it's 97th parallel, just out of Brassfield Mora, which is a small little infantry outpost outside of Samara. And there'd been no IEDs there, and we know where all the IEDs are because it's our job. We're literally the IED hunters. And
this is like Jarhead.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. And so anyway, 3 of these bombs about the size of here are buried underneath a bush that they put back on the ground, and they created an infrared timer because it was just at dusk, and they knew we wouldn't have our night vision goggles on yet. And they knew we'd be going fast, and they put a timer on that as soon as the front truck passed, it triggered the timer so that it hit the second truck perfectly when they expected us to go, me, the truck commander, to go by it. And dude, I mean, these are 20,000 pound trucks. Like,
how big is a like a G-Wagon?
I mean,
a G-Wagon's 5,000 pounds.
Like a tire is about up here on me.
So these are like basically like
so they're
Hummers.
like up here,
like tank Hummers.
Yeah, pretty much. Yes, that's exactly right.
A Hummer tank.
Tank Hummers is exactly
so
how.
You're driving in a Hummer tank, looking like an absolute American G, and it's like dusk.
Yeah.
And you're just like, we're almost done for the day.
No, it's like, oh, we got to go find bombs.
Oh,
no,
you
usually because we go out at night. That's usually when we do our missions, like night vision goggles, like lights off.
You would do night vision goggle bomb visibility IED scrubbing.
Yeah.
So most of your missions are at night.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a detail I didn't know.
Yeah.
You're looking for bombs at night.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Okay. So the movie Jarhead is really not.
Yeah, like the Hurt Locker, like that's
the Hurt Locker. Yeah. But it's at night.
Yeah.
That makes it even more scary.
Yeah.
Dude, the psychology of that is terrifying.
Yeah, you got to go really slow.
And
it's mind-numbing because you got to keep everybody awake too. Talk about a leadership challenge. Like you got to keep people awake.
But are you like, okay, let me get into the mind here.
Yeah.
After like your first, like on any new job, your first month or two, you're high alert, right? But by like month 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you said 18 months.
15.
Then you start to, it's like, okay, we've been doing this. You start to kind of get lulled into a sense of confidence.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
So to stay laser focused every single day, day in and day out.
We're 13 days on, 1 day off.
13 days on, 1 day off, laser focused at night, looking for bombs.
Yeah.
And then, not to sound frivolous or to diminish the severity of this conversation, you don't even know yet, but you're going back to a hot tub, and Kyle is going to be splashing you, right?
8 years later, yeah, 8 years from me.
In all seriousness, so you go back to the psychology of you're in this super heavy armored Humvee with your boys.
Yeah.
And you're hoping everybody, back to your leadership comment, you're hoping everybody is alert as you are because your life's on the line.
Everyone's is. You're only as strong as their weakest link, which is like, you've got to build a strong team around you, and you have to delegate systems of leadership to make sure that the lowest level private is like locked in, because if one truck goes down, now the unit is in peril, because now we have to recover that one and set up security so you could be subject to secondary attacks. And that's kind of what happened with me in this scenario. My truck got smoked. These run flat tires, which are like as high as my torso, got shredded on all sides of the truck. You're supposed to be able to run on these tires for 40 kilometers per hour for like another 100 miles.
When you say the truck got smoked,
Shredded by shrapnel of these 3 bombs going off.
Did your truck flip?
No.
So the bomb goes off and the truck is so gangsta, it just is still there?
Still there. Like,
everyone's intact?
You've got just my truck, but you've got like glass that's about like that thick, spidered all the way through. I mean, there's a piece of shrapnel that was like worked its way through all of the armor except the last piece, like about that far away from my core, and it was about the size of my fist, which would have ripped me in half, and that close from getting through the armor.
So shrapnel almost was about an inch away from going through your abdomen.
Yeah. And I'll never forget, like, the sound going off. It's like a huge thump, and then like there's just this concussive sound, and it feels like this invisible tidal wave of energy coursing through your body, which just takes because you're strapped in. And it takes your organs and slams it against this side, because it's coming from this way, so it slams against the left side of my skeleton, like, ears bleeding.
You could feel your inner guts just banging up against your other side.
Yeah, and like then it's over like that, and you can't really hear much. I remember hitting my driver Saunders, my gunner Schwartz, like making sure they're good, like everyone's good, just we're all concussed, and I just remember being like, all right, Charlie, Mike, like roll through, because that's what you're always taught, like roll through the kill zone, because if there's a down area, like you're subject to fall and attacks. My platoon sergeant, who's 2 behind, is like, negative, sir, negative, I'll stop.
This makes the reality TV stuff seem so silly.
Dude, I mean,
like my relationship troubles, Vanita and I, like the whole Lindsay Hubbard, I'm just like, this is like the real shit right here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's like, in a way, not to use your heroism, your patriotism, as the contrast point, the juxtaposition, but like, I got a little worked up earlier about the Vanita and the alley and the breakup and the Lindsay and the Bravo. Like this, dude. I mean, I hope that when people watch whatever this is, that they remember that, like, or they realize that, like, that's real.
Yeah.
That's fucking real.
Yeah, man.
And there's no cameras. There's no producers. There's no edits. Life on the line.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes all this stuff that we deal with, like, the troubles here back home and the politics and the bullshit and man.
Well, it's.
Thank you for your service, man.
I appreciate
like,
it.
Dude.
It's my honor.
I've never, like, no one's ever, like, that I know ever been like, I felt my organs slam against my rib cage after a shard of shrapnel went through on a bomb mission. It makes the splashing in the hot tub with Kyle Cook, who I like a lot. It makes it puts it all in perspective.
Yeah.
So let's close with this, and I could literally, we'll have dinner one night. I'll talk about. I'm fascinated about the real stuff. Let's conclude with your platform, which is you have a big event coming up Memorial Day.
Yeah.
HOH. Can you talk about what's going on Memorial Day here in Charleston, the gala, the black tie, why you're doing it, and then we'll wrap with that?
Yeah. No, thank you. I would say one thing I obviously try to use the show as a platform for HOH, but one of my frustrations also from the show was because I got labeled as just that angry veteran with PTSD. But
Dude.
you know, and it's important that, you know, we talk about this because the D after the PTS is disorder. And many veterans that struggle, that go through things like I did, have stress from experiences like what I just shared with you, but it doesn't necessarily translate to a disorder. Disorder means that it is disrupting your daily life and your ability to manage your daily affairs. Most veterans have post-traumatic stress, but many don't have a disorder. But we've all kind of lumped things together, and I was that angry veteran on Summer House that had PTSD, which was frustrating within the context of I know and have served with many veterans that do have the disorder. You know, it can be very debilitating, and we lose, still to this day, 22 veterans a day to suicide, one every approximately 65, 70 minutes to a suicide, because we as a country haven't figured out how to create a support system for those who are willing to make the ultimate sacrifice for the freedoms and the liberties that we enjoy. And you know, my mission with Operation Heal Our Heroes is to help be a beacon for those that feel isolated post-service, that don't feel connected with their communities and surroundings because they can't share these experiences that I have with you because they're difficult to process. Yeah. And so our goal is to help create channels of communication. Like, you know, communication is so key to the human experience and forging a path as people. And so this event is, you know, as we've always done since I first did Operation Heal Our Heroes 10 years ago, it was 1 year to the day when I buried my buddy, Frankie. Our goal has always been to help other veterans understand that, you know, I go through my own shit. Everyone has their own new things they deal with. Yep. There are many nuances to these invisible psychological, you know, scars that we have from our time in service. And it's okay to have those, but let's talk about it. Let's come together and let's find different avenues to engage together, whether that's golf or horseback riding. You know, there's Warrior Surf here in Charleston is an amazing foundation that is helping veterans process therapy through surfing. And there's just so many ways that people can find their foundation rather than taking the out. And that's the mission of Operation Heal Our Heroes, is to assimilate that backbone of support that used to exist in the military, that chain of command that's no longer there when you leave service, and recreate that through civilian and veteran channels so that people know they're not alone. So this event we have in Charleston, second event I've done in Charleston. I did them in New York for many years, but you know, we're just starting to going down here. Casino Royale Gala. Casino Royale. At the historic rice mill down on the peninsula.
It's on downtown?
It's by it's on the western edge of the peninsula, right by the harbor.
Okay. What's the date?
May 22nd, going into Memorial Day weekend.
May 22nd. We'll put it in the show notes. I've always wanted to say that. The show notes.
Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah.
We'll put it in the show notes. May 22nd.
May 22nd, going into Memorial Day weekend is a Thursday, so people like to send it on a Thursday. Casino Royale theme, so people can dress up.
Perfect time of year in Charleston.
Yeah, it's going to be beautiful. We're doing a big partnership with Operation Patriots Fob down in Ridgelands.
Food, but what's the food?
We've got a chef, Kevin Deshane, who is
from
the Food Network, who did your
Kevin,
40th birthday. He's come in, and we got Wagyu beef from Charleston Wagyu coming in. We're going to have live music. We're going to have table games. It's going to
tickets are sale online, or
tickets for sale on our website, operationhoh.com.
Okay.
I'll be posting on the gram as well, but all proceeds will go towards helping support veterans initiatives and greater community integration to tackle the suicide problem for the veteran community.
Everett Scott, I gotta say, a friend of maybe 5 years. I have such respect for you, and thank you for your service, all the veterans, and for listening to me kind of in my little ramble about TV, tea, and drama. And then you kind of brought the house, you brought it all home, man. And I'm like blown away, and I hope that people that watch this go, that guy from Summer House, the pioneer from season 1 and 2. And I got a lot of love for Kyle and a lot of love for Carl.
Oh,
and I know we say
for
with the
sure.
splashing in the hot tub, and man, it's funny how the stars align sometimes, and I'm so thankful that the universe brought me and you a friendship. And like I said, thank you for your service, and this will air right about the reunion of Southern Charm season 10. And I hope that not just for my sake, but also for your sake as a male who went through the Bravo experience,
Yeah.
that people can go, wait, that guy's a badass. He's a good guy. And that I'm sure they will. So thank you for your service, and thank you for coming today.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity for salvation with the Bravo world, and no, thank you. I mean, this is a great opportunity to share our mutual experiences with others, and like we talked about, it's all for the greater good. Hope what we talked about today can maybe help somebody, or at least give somebody a laugh. But,
if it helps one person with PTSD,
that's right.
that's enough.
That's right. That's enough.
So, anyways, all right, man. Let's wrap it up. Cheers.
Cheers, pal.
Yeah, buddy. Good man.
Love you.
Cheers.